Yeah, this is an application that I've been working just, sort of for a personal interest, namely in cataloging films. And I wanted to be able to get a ranking, of like, what my favorite films were, and kind of honestly hoping for some surprises, right? Um, so I needed AI to help me with this in the sense of, I could do natural paired comparisons, but that number gets exponentially huge, like the number of comparisons you need to make in order to come up with a ranking. So I used AI to come up with the comparison model, and it's, all these terms that I have no idea what they mean, Bayesian, Glico. I've got a vague idea of what it's doing, but I don't know the math. Like, it's heavy statistical models that allow me to do like an A versus B, like an eye test comparison. And so, I just have to pick, do I like this one or do I like that one? Or if I can't decide, I can say can't decide or tie. So I just needed like simplified, just like I want A or B. I didn't want to like have star ratings. I didn't want to, I wanted to be as simple as possible. And, I could crank through it as quickly as possible because I knew there were going to be thousands of choices that need to be made, even with, the statistical model the AI came up with for me. From there, I was like, well, let me have a visualization, to help me know how far into this several thousand choice decision process I'm in, so, so I can see if there's light at the end of the tunnel. And that's where it helped me come up with this visualization of, these sort of filling in these segments. I mean, all this stuff means very discrete things. This overall spread, this item that I have highlighted, are actually percentile segments of like where the films are landing in percentiles. And then the next one down is showing what our confidence is in the rating in each one of those percentiles. And the confidence builds as you make more choices. And, so that it narrows down and makes more concrete, the ranking on a film. And that you're done making decisions when all the films in the pool have met a threshold confidence level. In this case, it's a sigma of 30. I did this first. I mean, this shows me my progress. This area is showing like a prediction of, what the algorithm predicts would be the winner here. In this case, they're evenly matched. And then these areas expose a bunch of the math of basically how we've arrived at the rankings. And these are just very nerdy data managing things that I like to see. And I can click on this and it exposes all the math for me.
Oh, interesting.
Right.
And that's based on your personal history up to that point?
Yeah, these are live. This is live things. Yeah, these aren't just pictures.
That's beautiful.
It's not pulling in any public data at all, right? Like it's not using.
No. This is all local on my machine.
Nice.
That's beautiful.
So from here, I'm like, okay, well, this is done. This part of the application's done. And so then I moved on to, I started moving on to other layouts. I'm like, here's the layout list. I don't have a visualization here yet. No visualization there yet. I started working on, the next big piece would be the rating dashboard to show me. It's like, all right, show me all the rankings I have for my films. And then, this one, I worked on a big visualization for. It's like, okay, give me like a histogram. These surfaces show me basically the histogram, but spread across genres, which, you know, so you can hover over this and see, oh, here's musical, there's mystery, there's sci-fi, and you can see the spread. And generally, you're going to expect to see a bell curve, right? Because it's percentile based. And I can select a film in the lists, and that will then highlight in the histogram. It'll show me where it is. And because I have neighbors turned on, you know, neighbors are highlighted here. You see on the FileMaker list, but I also get that band highlighted here. You know, both in the histogram and in the surfaces. I liked how well this came out, that this started just looking boring to me, right? I'm like, I need to improve on this now, because once I saw what I could do, and so I started working on additional visualizations like this. So this was the workbench on, you know, how I came up with like the visualizations on that ranking list. And I just built that in here, you know, using the AI, updating an HTML document. And it's not just a single file. I mean, anybody who's worked on some of the projects that I've worked on will recognize this framework that I'm in. This is just my starter framework. And in this framework, I have a library code record where I can store pieces of code that are then assembled into a web viewer. So, you know, I've got some JavaScript and HTML, so, you know, lots of JavaScript libraries. You know, I've got, you know, here's, you know, the CSS. This all gets assembled and merged to then create the web viewers. And so when I'm working in this environment, I'm working in Codex, and it's assembling several, you know, these individual documents for me, the CSS, the JavaScript libraries, the HTML file that assembles it all. And I'm able to then copy those documents into the text fields here in FileMaker to then drive the actual web viewer here. But again, you know, after seeing what I could do here, I'm getting bored with the other one. I started working on like, okay, how can I improve on this? And so, you know, I grabbed screenshots just from across the web of various sort of spindle-based HUDs, and with the idea being able to deconstruct the elements in them. Like, you know, it's like I want to take, you know, this graph, but I want to be able to reconstruct it in FileMaker and feed it live data and serve it up in a live fashion in FileMaker. So what that entails is basically recreating it, like recreating the geometries. So, you know, here I'm saying this element is a capsule arc lane. And if I turn it on and off, you can see it's these components here. So using the AI to build this sort of workbench where I can deconstruct elements, the idea is then combining them, where I will take geometry and then I will take like rendering effects, things like glow and texture, and then I can combine them in various ways. And that's what this next step down here will be. So, you know, I capture things, I store them down here, and then I can select a geometry and a style and combine them into a mix. And the idea is that I can then construct my own sort of HUDs from these sampled images. That's what I've been doing with AI after I sign off from work every night.
Wow,
That's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
That's,
And to categorize your visualizations in a way that makes it interactive, like I can't imagine what that takes. But that's really cool.
I mean, it helps that, I mean, I've been training the AI how to do this. I mean, it helps that I have a background in drafting and CAD and model building. So it's like I was able to teach it like, this is what a vanishing point projection is. And, here I will trace this image with an ellipse, and that ellipse is actually a projection of a circle in a vanishing point. And so I've been able to train it. So there are actual 3D environments, in here, where it recognizes that these ellipses are circles that are in a projection, so that when I add another element in there, it will match that projection.
That's cool.
The eventual idea is that I want to replace this with something that is cooler, and that is maybe actually in a vanishing point projection. Maybe it rotates, but the idea being that once I mouse over it, that it will snap back to a flat down projection, because so it's actually consumable.
Right.
That's beautiful, man.
It is.
That's
Yeah.
really cool looking.
Very cool.
Even the flat panel, like, I don't even know what we're looking at, but I love that, like, display. Very Star Trek like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, there's a lot.
I
There is a
love that
lot of
you
meaning
took
in
it
here.
further than that even, but man, that is incredible. That's awesome looking.
I mean, what I was going for was I wanted to sort of lessen my frustration, like, it's like I can see I am 72% complete. It's like I'm not just making choices endlessly. It's like, is this ever going to end? And I can see, as these segments fill in, I can see that they're filling in, that I'm making progress, and that I've had these larger pie slices, that are informing me. It's like, yeah, you're making progress. You're almost done. That's really what I think. I use the analogy of like TurboTax. You're using that. You're like, oh my God, I hate doing taxes. When is this going to be done? But TurboTax gives you a progress bar, like a breadcrumb. You know how close to being done you are.
That's true.
Oh my gosh. So with all of your different your step model references below, is AI, you're building out each of those just to be able to do an example? Just sort of, what is it? Just look at that and sort of come up with rebuilding it to fit that?
Yeah, I mean, so the idea
is cool.
the idea being that, I'm in here and I want, it's like these guys here, we're calling these radial bar charts. And I want to recognize when those elements, when there's a radial bar chart, in the image. And so I've trained it to recognize it, and it can highlight it. It's like, I see, this is a radial bar chart. And, its representation, like I'm rebuilding the geometry. This is a preview of that representation of this geometry, like in like a JavaScript space that I can then feed data into eventually, right? So,
cool looking.
these guys right here are, the radial bar chart element. Like they'll go away when I click it off.
Cool.
So the idea being, it's like, I see stuff that I like here. I get, the app to be able to recognize it, to be able to build a representation of it in a model. And then this model being it's in a JavaScript model, I can then feed, a data array into that and make these geometric elements interactive.
Wow.
Yeah, that is super. So now looking at the data, it doesn't even like matter what data is there. It's just beautiful to look at.
No.
But what have you found? Like, because you've been playing with this a bunch, are you noticing like certain ways that you're interacting with these radial bar charts that make it easier or harder to be able to disseminate information that is actually crucial in the bar chart? Or
I haven't been feeding it data yet. Like that's like the least of my concern. That'll be the easy part at the very end.
Yeah.
It's more been the training, the recognition part. Like getting the AI to actually recognize that these things are radial bar charts, so that when I point this at another image, it'll be able to go, oh, there's some radial bar charts.
Yeah.
And
that is-
that's what's been consuming my time. It's like, I don't necessarily know why I need it to do that. That's, it's kind of also another question. It's like, well, I've got the geometry. Why do I need it to be able to recognize that geometry in another image? I don't have a solid answer for you, except because that's what's bringing me joy, I guess.
No, it is really cool. Like, to be able to give it an image of what you're kind of wanting it to look like, and then have it display it is pretty incredible. Like,
Right.
recognizing whatever radial type of chart graphic image you get designed can easily be transferred into.
Right.
With
I mean,
that
that's the idea,
little
is like,
empty,
just
that's
give it an
incredible.
image, and then it consumes the image, deconstructs it. I mean, and builds a preview in, sort of JavaScript generated geometry, and, like this. I mean, and this is essentially what, the model has come up with. So far it says this is a representation of that. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's pretty good.
Definitely. And the balance is a little bit better on the left than what it is on the right. I mean,
all of this stuff will be
that is
tunable.
super
I just
cool.
need the raw geometry, and then I can go like, okay, I want these to be thin. I want them to, instead of fat like that, and I want them to fill in a certain way, or I want these to have rounded corners. I mean, that's all, spit polish. This is all this stage is about, is recognizing the geometry.
yeah. And I'm thinking about the different types of data that you could pipe into this.
Oh yeah.
Audio visualizer is just one, right? Like,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
all of the different sounds of a symphony sort of playing in there, but then in actual data itself, like statistical data,
Mhm.
It's beautiful. It's really cool, man.
So
Wow.
yeah, I mean, I'm hoping to sort of reach a critical point where, I'm training it less and it's automating more on its own, and then things will start happening a lot quicker. And then move on to different kinds of visualizations, like get out of, this, sort of, this radial visualization. And it's like, well, let's look at different kinds of things. Because I'm a huge fan of infographics. Like, I would love to be able to just generate infographics like on the fly, with live data.
I've always been a fan of these. I didn't even know the name radial bar chart. Right from the days when I was a little kid watching the different Japanimation stuff, and they, so cool.
So thank you for attending my TED Talk.
I do that with 4-letter words. I have a funny joke that whenever I hear 2 4-letter words together, I think that'd be a funny knuckle tattoo.
Yes. I mean, I have knuckle tattoos, and I didn't get the tattoo that I planned to get for a long time, because it turned out that other people had gotten, like, I thought I was very clever with what I wanted for my knuckles, and then it turned out it's like, oh no, a bunch of people had that. You're not so clever. But I wanted to get plan ahead on my knuckles.
Nice.
It's like, oh no, a bunch of people have that.
Yeah.